Today we have Adam Houlahan. He's a social media consultant. He's a very known and popular figure on LinkedIn, and he has his own LinkedIn training program. Thanks for your time, Adam, today, and welcome to Digital Avenues Hangouts.
My pleasure, Sam. Great to be here with you.
Thank you very much. Well, I asked you to start to do this Hangout with us, especially when I saw your article about how you can convert your social media visitors to customers. And in Digital Avenues, we focus on helping small entrepreneurs and small businesses on social media and digital marketing. And this is why we would like to talk to you about this topic in specific. I saw your article and it's very interesting, and we will have a link to the article itself with the Hangout. But now I would like to start talking with you about that article.
Sure.
Tell us, what do you think about the challenges that entrepreneurs and small businesses face today with the social networks, especially with reach issues and organic reach, especially for Facebook and others. And today, as you can see, there's hundreds of companies or people publishing content every day, and sometimes more than once a day. Tell us, what do you think? How small businesses can come over that?
Yeah, it's a good question, Sam. What I find, probably the biggest challenge is there's just so much noise in social media, as you know. So getting to the right people obviously is the first challenge, and as you pointed out with your organic reach, especially on Facebook, though it's not the only one, being extremely low. It's other than paying for boosting posts and other methods, it's extremely difficult to get even to that audience that you already have in an effective way. So generally speaking, the process is really about what I find works the best is really about the whole ecosystem of what it is you're trying to do. So the days of just kind of posting content and getting a large amount of interaction from it, I don't know, I think it's pretty much gone, and you've got to have a really strategic approach to some paid advertising. I think that what's working the best these days with social media is really building your or your company's influence and credibility really well, and then using paid means to reach your ideal audience. Of course, that's still just the first step. Reaching an audience is not difficult. Whether
and I would like to add here, as I saw in your article, and that was very interesting as well, that targeting the right audience is more important now than just posting on all the social networks. I think now with
Absolutely.
Facebook, you can start targeting the audience with their at least interest, and in other social networks as well, with paid advertising, you can target your audience. And you mentioned a nice example related to the real estate. Can you talk to us about that?
Yeah. Look. Overall, the idea is really to is like you said, is to reach the right audience, and in the right way and with the right offer. I suppose is the most important thing at the end of the day. So you really have what I call this, and in fact, even though I say I call it, it was actually coined. The phrase was coined by Google, and it was what they called the 7-11 concept. And essentially, what that means is that these days you need to have at least 7 hours of interaction or 11 touch points with someone before you even try to sell them something. And what Google found, in their own marketing was that that was what it worked out. It was 10.8 was the average touch points that they had to have with someone before that person agreed to spend some money, even with Google. And in Google, you probably know that 80% of Google's staff are actually salespeople. So it shows that you've really got to get that conversion from your online into offline to be really effective in your whole marketing strategies these days. Just the pure, depending on the price point of the product, of course, it's a very low price point product. It's still quite effective, but anything higher price point gets very difficult to do a complete online conversion these days. I find anyway.
Yeah. One of the points that you mentioned now, and I think you know that there's some brands, they have like million followers, but they are not engaged, and other businesses might be entrepreneurs or small businesses or even other kind of businesses have very less number, very short number of fans, but they are engaged. So it's sometimes we say million followers versus 100 engaged followers.
Yeah. At the end of the day, let's face it. Anybody can go out and buy followers or whatever through whatever means, even through paid means on Facebook or Twitter or any of the other platforms you like as well. But the reality is that unless you're having that interaction with them and you're unless they join your profiles because they want to join your profiles and they're interested in your content, they're really not going to be engaged. So no point in having, like you said, 1 million disengaged followers. You're better off to have 1,000, really engaged followers, which is going to give your profiles a lot more sort of activity and genuineness about what's going on. And of course that always just comes back to content. You just got to be posting the right type of content that resonates with your ideal clients or customers, and essentially it's got to be just really adding value to so that they're coming on your profiles to get good advice or whatever they're interested in on a regular basis.
Yeah, and this takes me to the second point in your article, was about do your research. As a company, followers are not maybe interested in the industry itself, but they maybe are not interested in knowing more about your company unless you give them more information and helpful information. As you said, the right content, the good quality content. This is what they are looking for more than anything else, like promotions on your page.
Yep.
And, you mentioned that you should not add more than 10% promotional material and promotional content on your page.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Informative, right?
Yeah. That's correct. Yeah. I mean, used to be the 80-20 rule. Now it's the 90-10.
Yeah, 90-10 is more competitive, I guess, and even difficult sometimes for entrepreneurs and small businesses to be able to create content constantly like this. Can you give us some tips about creating content or quality content for the small businesses and entrepreneurs?
Yeah. Look, first of all, there's two sort of main types of content, which is, of course, the content you create yourself, which can be, blog posts or slide shares or any number of ways that you can create that content of your own. But there's also curated content. So what I find works best is to actually use a mixture of both. If it's just all your content, even if it's great content, it tends to get that same voice about it constantly. Whereas using a bit of curated content, of course, you wouldn't use content that was written by a direct competitor or anything like that. But if you're just using content that's, and if you think about it, the right type of content is not always the content that is necessarily interesting to you personally or to your business or about your business. It's about solving the problems of your followers. So if there's an article written by somebody else that is in your niche, then there's that's great content to use. Because your followers would find that helpful and interesting. And then, of course, on the flip side, the content that you create yourself should do exactly the same. It should, you know, without giving away necessarily your, you know, the main thing that you do or sell, giving, you know, helpful tips and advice, and you know, but also, you know, a little bit of fun stuff is always good as well. But it's, you know, it's a mixture of those, you know, created and your own content, and then of course, you know, mixing that up a bit as much as you can, and as much as time allows, and whatever, between, you know, video content, blog posts, and you know, slide shares, and everything else that that goes in there. The key though is not to become enslaved to, you know, to your content strategy, because you've really got to make sure you spend your time wisely. And of course, you know, even considering outsourcing some of the creation of that content is a good idea too.
Yeah, that's a good idea to think about outsourcing some of the content. But let me tell you this: in digital avenues, we always recommend outsourcing inside Australia, not outside Australia, and especially for content, because if you're outsourcing someone from other country, he will not understand sometimes the language, the keywords that the people use, and even will not be engaged with the activities that happens around. So if you are related to somehow the World Cricket tournament that was in Australia a few weeks ago, your content creator will be able to create content that suits your business and link your business to local events, and this would be much helpful for your audience.
Yeah, look, you make a great point there, Sam. That is definitely right. I mean, I've tried it. I've tried it both ways. You know, I've tried outsourcing some of that stuff to, you know, overseas sources, and even to you know, English sort of background areas, like even, let's say, the UK and the United States. And but I've always found that you just don't get that, you know, that real local or Australian feel. The way they write, yeah, it just doesn't resonate.
And after creating the content, now you have to give your audience call to action. You are not just creating content for just sharing content, but you are creating that content to guide your audience towards a certain call to action you would like them to do. And it's important to make that call to action clear. Don't assume that your audience will understand what you want them to do without saying this to them.
Yeah, definitely right. Even like, I find it quite interesting. I look at lots of LinkedIn profiles. I'm quite active on LinkedIn, and as you said, have some training courses around LinkedIn. And you know, 99%, I would say, of LinkedIn profiles, just even in the summary, don't lead to a call to action. So it's exactly right. It's the most important thing, that you can never make the assumption that you know, the people that you are viewing your content in any form know what it is that you want them to do next. And if you do make that very clear, as you said, your opt-in rates, or visits to your website, or whatever it is that your sales will be infinitely higher if you're very, very clear about, you know, what that next step is.
Yeah, and sometimes small things like subscribe to my blog to receive free updates, or subscribe to my YouTube channel if this is what you're looking for. This will help users to do what you are looking for specifically. Yeah. You gave some tips in the article about increasing the opt-in rate by giving free gift as a PDF file, or ebook, or a white paper, or even a video, as you said. Do you think that this is really help with increasing the opt-in rate?
Look, absolutely. I've found, you know, even in my, you know, my own marketing and whatever, that you know, I've tried, you know, all different you know, ways, and with, you know, some of my clients, and certainly always the campaigns where you know, that free gift is the first point of contact. It definitely just takes all that concern from the person out of dealing with you. And as I was alluding to before, this 7-Eleven concept is, so when somebody gets that free gift, that might be, like you said, a white paper, it might be a video that they watch. It's creating an interaction between you or your company and that person, and what that interaction is creating is trust. And essentially, at the end of the day, we generally buy on trust more than anything. Price, sure, but being the cheapest is just a race to the bottom. So the reality is, if you take that time, build that trust, your conversions will be much higher to your higher point product. But generally speaking, yes, starting with something free is definitely by far the best way to get that initial opt-in and start that conversation off.
Yeah, and around building the trust with the clients, how do you see the testimonials are helping or not helping building the trust? Because sometimes we see on a website like 10 or 20 testimonials, which is, I think, sometimes too much. What do you think about that?
Well, it's a good point with testimonials. The first thing is that video testimonials is really the most powerful thing these days. I mean, having 10, like you said, 10 or 20 testimonials that are a written version, unless they link through to that particular person's profile on Google Plus or LinkedIn or something credible, they just don't really have that impact. And generally, yeah, we would only use probably 2 or maybe 3 testimonials. I think that's more than enough. It's more a matter of like, realistically, nobody's going to go and look at and read 20 testimonials. Having 2 or 3 good ones there is more than enough, I think.
Great, thank you very much for your time, Adam, and give us some final tips around converting visitors to customers on social networks, or even on social networks in general lately, with the changes that we see every day on all the social networks now.
Yeah, the only constant in social media is change, as you know, and it's a never-ending learning curve. So one thing, unless you have a really good team in-house, it definitely is worthwhile aligning yourself with an agency that has strengths in that area to assist you. However, there's still plenty of things you can do for yourself. But really, at the end of the day, it always comes down to content. Put out good content, and the right people will find you. Of course, hashtags are very, very important to extend that reach beyond just your own network. Except on LinkedIn, hashtags don't work on LinkedIn. And kind of make you look a little bit sort of unprofessional if you put it in there.
Work. I think it's working. It's already now on Twitter, Facebook, and Google Plus.
Yeah.
So probably LinkedIn will think about it in a way or another.
Weird, because they actually used to work on LinkedIn and then they took it away. So I'm not sure why, but yeah, hopefully, like you said, they'll bring it back at some time. But yeah, definitely, a little bit of research around trending hashtags or popular hashtags within the niche that you're targeting is that's one good step, and then of course it just comes down to quality content and as you pointed out, that very clear call to action of what's the logical next step you want somebody to take. It's really that simple.
Yeah, thank you very much, Adam. Thanks for being with us today, and we are looking forward to have you again on our Hangouts, and maybe next time we will talk about LinkedIn itself and
sure,
how we can get more benefit from using LinkedIn for small businesses as well.
Yep, love to. And thanks for your time.
Thank you, Adam. Bye.